New for 2019, Gibson Guitars has divided their line of electric guitars into modern and original, and these two guitars are a great example of that. Today we are comparing the Gibson SG 61 and the Gibson SG Standard. Stay tuned. Hey Internet, this is Christopher McKee.
This is Cooper Greenberg.
We are with Alamo Music in San Antonio, Texas. You can find us online at alamomusic.com. What are you playing today, Cooper?
I'm playing the 61 Standard SG.
Cool, and I have got Gibson's new SG Standard. Now, if that is a little confusing, let us clarify for you. So, Gibson has kind of divided their line of electric guitars. There is the modern collection, the original collection. And we already kind of touched base on this when it comes to Les Pauls. We looked at a Les Paul Special and a Les Paul Modern to kind of define what's going on with that line. So if you would like to check that video out, make sure you click right up above Cooper's head and you'll be able to see it. These guitars, though, are extremely similar, unlike the two guitars we compared before. Because they're SGs, they look alike, right? I mean, is it kind of like the Patty Duke show, which is probably before your time, right?
Yeah.
They look alike, they walk alike, sometimes they even talk alike. I mean, it's an SG, it's a Heritage Cherry SG, which is already a classic guitar. But this is from the modern collection. It is a standard, and it has a few more modern appointments to it. But the one you have is a 61. And it's not like a true reissue like you'd get in the custom shop and pay thousands and thousands of dollars for. But it is based upon a 61. It is kind of vintage inspired, and it is not much more money than this guy. And so since there is not that big of a spread dollar-wise between these guitars, it really comes down to kind of the flavors that you want. So tell us first about the specs on the 61.
So, I mean, pickups we're working with here, the Burstbucker 61s, and then it's got the Tune-o-matic bridge. This is the
vintage style.
Vintage style Tune-o-matic. It's got the kind of classic looking vintage tuners up there. And when it comes down to the difference between those two, it's kind of there. I mean, pickguard, you know, is different between them, but for the most part, they're pretty.
Yeah. I mean, Gibson finishes their stuff in nitro, so it's not like what you'd see in Fender, where one's poly, one's nitro. These are both nitro finished, same color, same number of frets and everything. It really comes down to the pickups, the hardware, and the pick guard. I think is probably the biggest thing to tell you that is a 61 and this is a standard. And I'm glad they did that because you're not going to confuse the two. So yeah, so vintage inspired pickups, more vintage styled hardware, and you know, the small pick guard and so forth. So the standard, which is a few $100s less, you get 490 R and T, which is rhythm and treble. Okay, you get the large pick guard, which the pickups are mounted into instead of pickup rings, and I think that changes not just the tonal flavor you get, because obviously the pickups are different, but the response of the pickups is different. You get Grover tuners up top, and that's about it. Now the hardware also continues down. They're both aluminum stop bar tail pieces, but this is a more modern Nashville style bridge. That in a nutshell is where it's going. Now Gibson doesn't really talk about it, but I kind of dug into it, and the pots and the wiring are also a little bit different. So kind of going along with everything, you know, orange drop capacitors and all of that stuff. Just different flavor, more modern, more vintage. The real question is, since they're not a whole lot different, which one sounds better? And maybe not sounds better, but which sound do you like? So what we're going to have is Cooper run through both of them for you. You get to hear the tonal flavors that the standard comes with, as well as the great dynamic range and sound and tone of 61. By the way, 61 is a important year on SGs. And in case people who are watching this don't know, where did the SG come from? In 61, it was actually the Les Paul. The Les Paul that we know went on hiatus. They discontinued it. They brought it back with this. That lasted a bit. They brought back the original Les Paul, and this became SG for solid guitar. So that represents the very first year of the SG. This represents this year of the SG. Let's check them out. So there you have it. What do you think?
I like them. I like them both. You know, I would say that I probably gravitate more towards the 61. My first guitar hero was Angus Young, and so it just kind of makes me feel a little bit like Angus Young when I play it. But that one is so similar tonally that you really it comes down to aesthetics for me. I like the small pickguard, but I did feel like these pickups were a little bit hotter, a little more responsive to like the type of thing that I was playing, but you know, not across all of the pickups. I think some of it worked better on here. Probably the bridge stuff for me worked better on the 61, and maybe the neck stuff a little bit more on the standard. Yeah.
Well, I think the SG's always been a good value, and this is still a great value. I gravitated to the 61 initially for a very shallow reason. I liked the smaller pick guard better.
Yeah, me too.
So, you know, there was a short year where the standard, like just current SG had that, and I liked it. And so I like it for that reason. But I also like the vintage hardware and the more vintage style pickup. So I think it'd be the 61 for me as well. This is definitely better than a poke in the eye with a sharp stick, though. So yeah, you really can't go wrong with either one. And there's such a small cost difference that I would probably spend a few $100s more and get the 61. But for you guys watching, you might prefer the tone that this one has and maybe the pretty straightforward, you know, pick guard mounted pickup. So to each their own. I will tell you though that having heard that Angus Young was your hero, I think the next video you should be wearing shorts and a schoolboy outfit when you play guitar. We'll let everyone vote on that and see what they say, and then maybe the internet will force you to do it. So
Let's do it.
Anyways, if you have questions on either of these guitars, that one comes in red, and if you don't like that, you can get it in red as well. This one comes in red and ebony, which is black, and we have all the information about these on our website, so click on the links below in the description. You can find that. If you're new here, we appreciate you watching. Make sure that you subscribe, turn on notifications, and like our videos. We'll see you next time. Keep playing guitar, because whatever you're playing today, that's the best guitar in the world. Keep making music. See you next time.